The most powerful man on earth woke before dawn and wrote private notes to himself because his mind was not yet under control. He did not write them for an audience. He did not expect anyone to praise him for his wisdom. He wrote because, like you, he could feel anger rising before reason arrived. He could feel the pull of comfort, the sting of insult, the dread of loss, the exhausting pressure of being responsible for things that might still go wrong. That man was Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, commander of armies, judge of disputes, husband, father, and one of history's most admired Stoic philosophers. But Marcus Aurelius is often turned into a statue before he is understood as a person. His face appears on book covers, his words appear beneath photographs of mountains, and his name is invoked whenever someone wants to sound calm in the face of hardship. Yet the real Marcus was not preaching emotional numbness or telling people to endure anything without protest. He was trying, day after day, to answer a harder question. How can a human being live honorably when life refuses to become safe, fair, predictable, or easy? By the end of this, you will understand what Marcus Aurelius actually believed about control and fate, suffering and duty, anger and other people, death and meaning. More importantly, you will see why his philosophy still matters when your own mind is pulled in 10 directions by uncertainty, disappointment, pressure, and the desire to be seen as enough. Marcus Aurelius was born in the year 121. By the time he became emperor, Rome stretched across vast territories and faced the familiar burdens of power. Wars at its borders, political tensions, economic strain, disease, and the endless complexity of governing millions of lives from a distance. His reign was marked by hardship. The empire fought long and costly wars. A devastating plague spread through Roman lands. People close to him died. His responsibilities did not pause because he was tired, grieving, frustrated, or afraid. And still, during military campaigns and public burdens, Marcus wrote what we now call meditations. The title can mislead us. These were not polished essays offered to the public. They were personal reminders, often blunt and repetitive, written by a man who knew his ideals and struggled to live by them. When Marcus tells himself not to be disturbed by the behavior of others, he is not claiming that he has transcended irritation. He is trying to interrupt his own irritation. When he tells himself to get out of bed and do the work of a human being, he is not performing discipline for admiration. He is speaking to the part of himself that wanted warmth, comfort, and escape. That is one reason his writing still feels alive. Marcus does not stand above ordinary weakness. He meets it from within. Many people approach Stoicism expecting a method for becoming invulnerable. They want a philosophy that will make criticism bounce off them, eliminate anxiety, guarantee discipline, or convert every setback into a victory. Marcus Aurelius believed in inner strength, but not in this fantasy of becoming untouched. To him, a good life was not a life without pain. It was a life in which pain did not force you to betray your character. That difference is everything. You may not be able to stop someone from misunderstanding you. You may not be able to make a job offer arrive, restore a broken relationship, prevent a diagnosis, control a market, or guarantee that your effort will be rewarded. Marcus would not ask you to pretend these things do not matter. He knew they matter deeply. But he would ask another question. What, in this moment, belongs to you? Not what can you wish into existence? Not what should be fair. Not what other people ought to do. What belongs to your judgment, your intention, your speech, your action, your willingness to face reality? For Marcus, this was the first great division in human life. Some things are within the sphere of your agency. Others are not. Your opinions, your choices, the effort you make, the care you bring to your duties, the way you treat another person, these are yours. Your reputation, your body's ultimate fate, the response of other people, the outcome of a decision, the weather, the past, these are not fully yours. This idea came most clearly from Epictetus, the former slave whose teachings shaped Marcus deeply. Epictetus began his handbook with a distinction between what is up to us and what is not. The freedom of a person, he argued, depends on learning the difference. But this does not mean that Marcus believed outcomes were meaningless. It means he believed that your moral worth could not rest on outcomes alone. Consider the modern version of this struggle. You prepare carefully for an interview. You research the company, show up early, answer honestly, and make your case well. Then you receive a brief message. They have selected another candidate. The first reaction is often personal. I failed. They saw something lacking in me. My future is ruined. Maybe I should never have tried. Marcus would slow that reaction down. The rejection is real. The disappointment is real. But the story you add to it is not automatically true. You controlled your preparation, your conduct, and your willingness to take the risk. You did not control the decision made in a room after you left. That does not erase the loss. It restores proportion. A Stoic response is not to say, I did not want that job anyway. That is often just wounded pride, pretending to be philosophy. The response is to say, I wanted it. I worked for it. It did not happen. Now, I will not hand over my capacity for judgment and action to an outcome I cannot reverse. This is what Marcus believed about control. Not that you should shrink your ambitions until disappointment becomes impossible. He was an emperor after all. His life was full of enormous responsibilities. Rather, he believed you should work fully for what is worth doing while refusing to make your peace depend entirely on the result. There's a quiet strength in that. You can care without clinging. You can strive without becoming enslaved by victory. You can grieve without concluding that grief has destroyed your capacity to live well. Marcus also believed that much of human suffering begins not with events, but with the judgments we attach to them. This is one of the most frequently repeated Stoic ideas, and one of the easiest to misunderstand. It does not mean that every pain is imaginary. If you lose someone you love, the loss is not merely a thought. If you are betrayed, harmed, or treated unjustly, the event has weight. Marcus was not asking people to deny reality. He was asking them to notice the second wound, the one the mind often creates after the first. A person criticizes you in front of others. The first fact is simple. Words were spoken. Then, the mind moves quickly. Everyone thinks I am incompetent. I have been humiliated. I need to strike back. I will never recover from this. The original event may deserve a response. Perhaps the criticism was fair and useful. Perhaps it was petty and malicious. But before you decide what to do, Marcus would urge you to examine the judgment that has seized you. What exactly happened? What interpretation have you added? Does anger make you more capable of responding well, or does it make you easier to control? Marcus wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." That is not a command to tolerate abuse or abandon justice. It is a warning against becoming shaped by the worst behavior you encounter. If someone lies, you are not required to lie back. If someone humiliates you, you are not required to become cruel in return. If someone is selfish, you are not required to let their selfishness recruit you into bitterness. This is especially difficult because anger can feel like strength. It makes the body alert. It gives the mind a sharp, hot sense of certainty. It tells you that immediate retaliation will restore your dignity. But Marcus saw that anger often hands your dignity away. The other person has acted badly, and now their behavior dictates your state, your words, your next decision, perhaps even the person you become. He did not believe you should become passive. As emperor, he had to make judgments, impose laws, defend borders, and confront wrongdoing. Stoicism is not a philosophy of standing still while harm spreads. It asks you to act from reason and justice rather than from the hunger to wound. There is a difference between firmness and fury. You may need to leave a relationship where trust has been broken. You may need to confront a colleague who repeatedly undermines you. You may need to document unfair treatment, set a boundary, speak clearly, or involve other people. Marcus would not call these actions unstoic. The question is whether your action is guided by the desire to do what is right, or by the desire to make someone suffer because you are suffering. That distinction is subtle, but it changes the whole texture of your life. When you act from anger, your attention narrows. You become obsessed with being vindicated. You replay conversations. You imagine speeches you will never give. You begin measuring your own peace by whether the other person finally understands what they did. When you act from principle, you can still be direct. You can still say no. You can still protect yourself, but you no longer wait for another person's remorse in order to recover your own steadiness. Marcus believed human beings were made for cooperation. He repeatedly returns to the image of a larger whole, a community in which each person has a role. He tells himself that people are born for one another and that we should either teach others or bear with them. This can sound naive until you recognize what he means. He did not think people were always kind. He knew they could be ignorant, greedy, vain, deceptive, and cruel. In one famous morning reflection, he prepares himself to meet meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly people. That is not optimism. It is preparation. Marcus begins by acknowledging that difficult people will exist. The mistake is to be shocked every time they do. When you expect flawless behavior from flawed human beings, every ordinary disappointment feels like a personal betrayal. You waste energy demanding that reality become more convenient before you can be at peace. The Stoic alternative is not cynicism. It is clear sight. Your difficult colleague may still be difficult tomorrow. Your parent may still be emotionally unavailable. The person who needs everyone's approval may still gossip. The stranger online may still interpret your words in the worst possible way. You do not have to approve of this. You do not have to invite it closer. But you can stop being surprised that people act according to their character, habits, fears, and confusions. Then, you can decide what your own character requires. Perhaps it requires patience, perhaps distance, perhaps honest speech, perhaps silence, perhaps forgiveness, though forgiveness does not always mean renewed access. Perhaps the courage to say, "This is not acceptable," without turning the moment into a performance of rage. Marcus believed that every encounter gave you an opportunity to practice virtue. To modern ears, virtue can sound old-fashioned, as if it means obeying a list of rules. For the Stoics, it meant excellence of character. Wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control were not decorative ideals. They were the only things that could make a life genuinely good. Wisdom meant seeing clearly. Justice meant treating people fairly and serving the common good. Courage meant doing what is right, despite fear or discomfort. Self-control meant governing appetite, impulse, and vanity, rather than being governed by them. Everything else, in the Stoic view, was less secure. Wealth could be lost. Health could fail. Status could vanish. Praise could turn into ridicule overnight. These things might be desirable. Marcus did not deny that health, friendship, security, and material stability have value, but they were not the foundation of a good life because they could not be fully guaranteed. Character was different, not because it was easy to preserve, but because it remained the territory in which you could exercise agency. This is why Marcus could face uncertainty without pretending it was pleasant. A plague may enter the city. An army may fail. A trusted person may disappoint you. Your body may weaken. These events can take much from you, but they cannot force you to become dishonest, cowardly, unjust, or self-indulgent. Only your own choices can do that. There's a particular relief in understanding this. It does not solve every problem. It gives you a place to stand inside the problem. When you are waiting for medical results, you may feel powerless. And in important ways you are. No philosophy can make uncertainty disappear, but you can choose whether to catastrophize every hour, whether to speak gently to the people who love you, whether to ask clear questions, whether to rest when you can, whether to face the result when it comes. When a relationship becomes uncertain, you cannot control another person's heart. You can control whether you become manipulative, desperate, cruel, or dishonest. You can tell the truth. You can listen. You can decide what you will and will not accept. You can survive the fact that love does not guarantee possession. Marcus did not offer control over life. He offered responsibility within life. This is closely connected to what he believed about fate. Marcus often writes as though the universe is ordered by reason, by nature, by a larger intelligence of which human beings are a part. This was a central Stoic conviction. The ancient Stoics saw the cosmos not as random matter alone, but as an interconnected whole governed by logos, a rational principle. For a modern person, this can be one of the most difficult parts of Stoicism. You may not share Marcus's view that the universe is rationally ordered. You may look at illness, disaster, and injustice and find no obvious benevolent plan. You do not need to force yourself into an ancient metaphysical belief you do not hold. But there is still something important in Marcus's posture toward fate. He believed that resistance to unavoidable reality adds unnecessary misery. Events arrive that were never invited. The question becomes whether you will spend your life arguing with what has already happened, or whether you will meet it as material for your next act of character. Marcus writes in different ways about welcoming what happens, because it has been woven into the whole of your life. This is sometimes called amor fati, love of fate, though that famous phrase is more closely associated with later thinkers than with Marcus himself. To love fate does not mean enjoying every event. It does not mean calling cruelty good or treating tragedy as a gift in disguise. It means refusing to waste your remaining strength on the impossible demand that the past be different. A storm destroys your plans. You can curse the storm, and perhaps for a moment you will. But then comes the next question. What now? A friend betrays your trust. You may mourn what you thought the friendship was. Then comes the next question. What now? You make a serious mistake at work. Shame arrives. The consequences are real. Then comes the next question. What now? Marcus keeps returning to the present because the present is where action becomes possible. Not the whole of your future, not the entire burden of your life. This task, this conversation, this morning, this next honest action. He reminds himself that life is made of moments, and that the mind often suffers by carrying the entire future at once. You may recognize that feeling. It is late at night, and a small uncertainty becomes a chain of imagined disasters. One unanswered email becomes a ruined career. One symptom becomes a terrifying future. One conflict becomes proof that you are unlovable. The Stoic response is not to shame yourself for worrying. It is to return to the evidence in front of you. What is known? What is not known? What is required now? Sometimes the answer is a difficult phone call. Sometimes it is a doctor's appointment. Sometimes it is an apology. Sometimes it is going to sleep instead of searching for more reasons to panic. Sometimes it is admitting that there is no action available tonight, and that your duty is to wait without feeding the fire in your mind. Marcus also believed in the discipline of mortality. He wrote often about death, and this can make meditation seem severe to readers who first encounter it. But his reflections on death were not meant to drain life of meaning. They were meant to strip away false urgency. You will die. Everyone you admire will die. The people who praise you and the people who criticize you will die. The arguments that consume your week may be forgotten within months. The reputation you are tempted to sacrifice your peace for will eventually pass through other hands and other memories. For Marcus, this was not a reason for despair. It was a reason to become more exact about how you live. If your time is limited, why spend so much of it rehearsing resentments? Why delay the necessary conversation because pride wants to be protected? Why live according to the shifting approval of people whose opinions you cannot command? Why treat every minor inconvenience as though it has the authority to ruin your day? Mortality places life in proportion. Seneca, another Stoic influence though he lived before Marcus, wrote that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Marcus carried a similar awareness. He tells himself to stop drifting, to stop living as if he has endless opportunities to become serious about his character. This is not pressure to squeeze achievement from every hour. Marcus was not telling you to become a machine. He was asking something more demanding and more humane. Do not postpone the life you know is worth living. Do not postpone patience until people become easier. Do not postpone courage until fear disappears. Do not postpone honesty until it costs nothing. Do not postpone gratitude until conditions are perfect. The moment to practice is rarely dramatic. It is often hidden in ordinary friction. You are tired, and someone speaks sharply to you. You want to answer with the same sharpness. There is your practice. You notice yourself opening an app again because you do not want to feel the discomfort of beginning difficult work. There is your practice. You hear good news about someone else and feel envy before you feel happiness for them. There is your practice. You are tempted to exaggerate, to hide a mistake, to blame someone weaker, to take credit you did not earn. There is your practice. Marcus Aurelius did not believe philosophy belonged only in books or lectures. He believed it had to enter the grain of conduct. Philosophy was not a collection of attractive statements. It was a training of attention. This is why he wrote to himself so often. The human mind forgets. It knows something at 9 in the morning and abandons it by noon. It can admire courage while avoiding a necessary decision. It can praise self-control while being ruled by appetite. It can read about patience, then lose its temper in traffic. Marcus did not treat this as proof that philosophy had failed. He treated it as the reason philosophy was needed. His journals contain repeated instructions, because repeated instruction is how habits are formed. You do not learn steadiness once. You return to it. You fail, notice, return. You get pulled into resentment, notice, return. You chase approval, notice, return. That pattern is not hypocrisy. It is training. There is a modern pressure to present a finished self. Social media rewards certainty, performance, and visible success. People often reveal their strongest moments while privately living with fear, confusion, and exhaustion. This can make your own unfinished life feel like evidence of failure. Marcus offers a different image. The emperor himself was unfinished. He was still correcting his judgments, still reminding himself to be patient, still trying to meet his duties without complaint, still asking himself whether he was living according to reason rather than ego. His greatness, if we can use that word carefully, did not come from never struggling. It came from taking the struggle seriously. This matters when you lose motivation. Many people wait to feel ready before they act. They wait to feel confident before they apply, disciplined before they begin, calm before they speak, inspired before they create. Marcus would be suspicious of that arrangement. Feelings change. They are weather, not commands. You may not feel like getting up. You may not feel like exercising, answering the message, preparing for the exam, keeping your word, or admitting the truth. But your feeling at this moment is not the sole authority on what your life should become. In Meditations, Marcus urges himself to rise from bed because he was made for action, just as other living things are made to perform their nature. This is not a celebration of relentless busyness. It is a reminder that comfort is not always the same as good. There is a form of comfort that restores you. There is another form that slowly weakens you because it asks you to avoid every demand that might reveal your strength. The Stoic question is not, do I feel like it? It is, what is the work of this moment? Sometimes the work is rest. A person who is burned out, sick, or grieving may need to stop treating exhaustion as a moral failure. Stoicism does not praise self-destruction, but often the work is the small act you keep postponing because you want a mood to carry you. Send the message, "Oh." Open the document. Take the walk. Put the phone down. Prepare the meal. Keep the promise. Do the next part cleanly. Marcus believed that the quality of an action mattered more than the drama surrounding it. You do not need to make your discipline visible to everyone. In fact, much of real discipline is invisible. It is the decision not to indulge an impulse. It is the decision to listen rather than interrupt. It is the decision to leave when staying would betray your dignity. It is the decision to keep going quietly after praise has disappeared. This brings us to another central part of what Marcus actually believed. Reputation is unstable, and dependence on it is dangerous. As emperor, Marcus received immense public attention. He understood better than most people how fragile public approval can be. The same crowd can celebrate you one day and turn towards someone else the next. The same people who praise your character may know almost nothing about it. Yet how much of modern life is organized around being seen correctly? You post something and check the response repeatedly. You shape your opinions to avoid disapproval. You feel disproportionately hurt because someone did not acknowledge your contribution. You remain in a role, a friendship, or a relationship, partly because leaving would force others to revise their image of you. Marcus would ask whether you are giving strangers and bystanders authority over your peace. This does not mean you should become careless about your reputation. Trust matters. A good name can help you serve others and fulfill responsibilities, but reputation must remain secondary to character. If you begin treating praise as proof that you are good, you will also treat criticism as proof that you are worthless. Neither is reliable. The deeper task is to become someone whose private conduct can withstand the absence of applause. Can you do the right thing when nobody knows? Can you make a difficult decision even if it will be misunderstood? Can you endure the temporary discomfort of disappointing someone rather than permanently disappointing yourself? Marcus's answer would be that you must, not because you are above other people, but because the only life you can truly direct is your own. This becomes especially important when you are misunderstood. There are moments when explaining yourself is necessary. Silence is not always noble, and clarity can be an act of justice. But there are also moments when no explanation will be enough because another person has already decided what story they want to tell about you. Trying to control that story can become a prison. You can state the facts. You can correct what must be corrected. You can apologize where you have caused harm. Then you may have to accept that some people will carry an incomplete version of you in their minds. Marcus would urge you not to let that version become your master. There is humility in this. You are not entitled to universal understanding. You will be misread sometimes. You may even be judged for the very boundary that protects your health, your family, or your integrity. The important question is whether you have acted with wisdom and justice, not whether every observer has approved the result. Marcus also believed that human beings are connected in a way that makes selfishness ultimately irrational. He often uses images from nature, branches of a tree, limbs of a body, parts of a single organism. If a hand serves only itself and harms the body, it harms the very whole that gives it life. This social dimension is essential. Stoicism is sometimes presented as an intensely private philosophy, focused only on managing your own reactions. Marcus did believe in self-mastery, but he did not see it as an escape from obligation. He saw it as preparation for obligation. Your calm is not valuable merely because it feels good. It is valuable because it helps you become more useful, more just, more capable of serving the people around you. When you govern your temper, your family experiences less fear. When you resist vanity, your colleagues can trust your judgment more. When you face uncertainty without spreading panic, you become a steadier presence. When you refuse to join cruelty, gossip, or contempt, you protect something larger than your own mood. This is why Marcus' Stoicism cannot be reduced to self-help. It is ethical. It asks not only, how can I feel better, but What kind of person am I becoming in relation to others? That question can be uncomfortable. Sometimes we use personal growth as another form of self-absorption. We want better habits, stronger boundaries, more confidence, more peace. These are worthwhile aims, but Marcus would keep turning the lens outward. What do you contribute? Are you fair? Are you honest? Do people become safer or more anxious around you? Does your strength make room for others, or does it merely make you harder to reach? The Stoic ideal was not an isolated person standing above the world. It was a person who could participate in the world without being corrupted by its chaos. And that requires compassion, though not a sentimental kind. Marcus reminds himself that people do wrong because they are mistaken about what is good. They chase money, status, pleasure, revenge, or approval as though these things can make them whole. They may cause real damage in that pursuit, but understanding the confusion behind harmful behavior can keep you from becoming consumed by hatred. Compassion does not erase accountability. You can understand that someone is frightened, wounded, or ignorant, and still hold them responsible for what they do. You can recognize another person's humanity and still refuse to allow their behavior into your life. The point is not to excuse everything. The point is to keep your own mind from becoming poisoned by contempt. Contempt can feel intelligent. It can make you feel separate from the foolishness around you. But Marcus knew that superiority is another trap of ego. You also make mistakes. You also cling to impressions. You also become impatient, defensive, self-important, and blind to your own motives. This recognition creates humility. Not the weak kind that denies your worth, but the honest kind that remembers you are part of the same human material as everyone else. Marcus believed that the mind has the power to make room for reality without being broken by every impact. He often speaks of the inner ruling faculty, the part of you capable of examining impressions and choosing your response. An impression arrives. This is unbearable. This person has ruined everything. I cannot handle this. I need to react now. The Stoic practice is to pause before granting complete belief to the impression. Perhaps it is unbearable. Perhaps the person has caused serious harm. Perhaps urgent action is needed. But do not let the first emotional verdict become the final authority. Look again. What is happening in my body? What fact am I responding to? What fear is underneath this reaction? What would courage look like here? What would justice require? What part of this is mine to do? This pause can be only a few seconds, but it creates space between stimulus and character. A harsh email arrives. Instead of replying immediately, you stand up, walk away, and return later. A loved one says something that cuts deeply. Instead of making the injury larger with an accusation, you say, "I need a moment before I answer." You feel envy when someone else succeeds. Instead of feeding it with comparison, you name it privately and ask what it reveals about your own neglected ambition. This is Stoicism in practice. Not a grand speech about being unbothered, a disciplined refusal to let the first surge of emotion write the whole story. Marcus did not believe emotions were enemies. He believed they could become tyrants when judgments were left unexamined. Grief, fear, affection, disappointment, and concern are human. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is to become free enough that your emotions inform you without ruling you blindly. You can feel fear and still act bravely. You can feel grief and still care for others. You can feel anger and still choose not to become cruel. You can feel desire and still choose not to be possessed by it. That is the kind of freedom Marcus was after. Near the end of his life, Marcus had no reason to think the world would preserve his inner thoughts. He could not know that centuries later, people would read the private struggles of an emperor in bedrooms, offices, hospital waiting rooms, and quiet moments after disappointment. Perhaps that is why his writing reaches across so much time. It does not promise escape from being human. It asks you to become more faithful to the best part of being human, to reason when panic is easier, to act justly when selfishness would be rewarded, to speak with restraint when anger wants spectacle, to accept what cannot be changed without surrendering what can, to remember that your life is brief, and therefore too valuable to spend entirely at war with reality. What did Marcus Aurelius actually believe? He believed that the events of life do not fully belong to you, but your use of them does. He believed that character is more secure than status, more valuable than comfort, and more important than applause. He believed that other people's faults should be met with clarity, justice, and measured boundaries, not with imitation. He believed that death gives urgency to goodness. He believed that you are part of a larger human community, and that your inner discipline should make you more useful to it. Most of all, he believed that the mind can return. It can return from resentment to judgment, from panic to the present task, from comfort to duty, from vanity to service, from the demand that life be different to the courage to meet life as it is. You do not need to become an emperor to practice this. You need only notice the next moment in which your peace depends on something outside your control. Maybe it is an unanswered message, a criticism, a decision you cannot force, a memory you cannot change, a person who will not become who you need them to be. Pause. Separate the event from the story gathering around it. Then ask what belongs to you now. 1 honest action. 1 restrained reply. 1 difficult task completed without waiting for the perfect mood. 1 boundary held without hatred. 1 return to the present. If this kind of clear-eyed strength is what you are trying to build, subscribe to Stoic Against Chaos. Marcus Aurelius did not believe you could control the storm. He believed you could still govern the part of yourself that meets it.